Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight here on Weeb TV. And we're here at WeebCon 2021. Yeah, I was like 2021. And what tonight's panel is going to be about is the basics of cosplay body paint. And I'm going to show you how not to look like a hot mess here in Texas weather. So we're going to be covering the basics of how to apply your base coat of water-based makeup, a little bit of airbrush, highlighting and shading. And tonight we have a very special model with us.
Thank you. I don't have a microphone.
Oh, here, you can just, you just
But
stop right there.
I am Killcade Cosplay.
And today we're going to be doing a Beast Boy inspired look. And I'm probably going to be adding a little bit more to it because I'm going to be teaching you guys a couple more techniques than what Beast Boy actually has on his body.
Yes.
So, I don't remember Beast Boy having an armored arm. That's a new design for 2022. Look for it. So guys, what we're going to start with is I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit about who I am before we just start. I'm Rudy Campos of RC Creations. I've been doing body paint, special effects, and makeup for the last 16 years here in Texas, the East Coast, and other countries. Oh, I'm good. Okay. Sorry. And that's what my career is. So it is just special effects and body paint. You can find me on social media at RC Creations on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, not Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook. I was also on Skin Wars season 2 for about 2 episodes, and I got voted off real quick. So blink of an eye, you'll miss me. But yeah, that's who I am. And thank you guys for joining us tonight. And I hope you take away some new knowledge in body painting and makeup and special effects. And if you have any questions about anything that I'm talking about or something that I may not have covered, feel free to contact me on social media. Always love answering questions to people. And yeah, that's it. So we'll get started. You want? Yeah. You want to be famous, don't you? Okay, so
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah, it's gonna be freezing.
Okay.
It's like going to Texas going, is it gonna be hot?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay.
It's gonna be real chilly.
Real chilly. Okay, so guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with saying this. I don't use Mayron and Ben Nye. No, I lie. I have Mayron. But what we're going to be using today are 3 other companies. I like teaching people about the other options that they can take when it comes to body paint and makeup. Some of the companies that I use are a company called Chameleon Body Paint, Fusion Body Art, and Global Body Art. And I think there's one more. There we go. Tag Body Art. These, I like them a little bit better than, I love Mayron, that's where I got started, and I still carry Mayron in my kit as my backup. The reason I switched over to this was most of the companies nowadays that specialize in body paint and special effects are a lot more ahead of the game than Ben Nye and Mayron. And these are probably, you're going to get your bang for your buck with these. They're a little bit more affordable, and they're more highly pigmented, and they last longer. So, a lot of pros. Okay. Let's take a look. All right, you ready to freeze?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You sound excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, hey Rudy, my makeup looked really horrible, streaky, and it was melting off of my face. And my next question is like, did you do it in the middle of summer in Texas? Well, that's one reason. The other one is a lot of people don't know how to apply water-based makeups, whether it be Ben Nye or Mayron, and this is the way to do it right here. They're kabuki brushes. You can find them on. Oh, they're dusty. That's paint. That's dried up paint. Not actual dirt. You can find these guys on Amazon, Ulta, Sephora, any makeup store will sell them. I usually suggest get them on Amazon. You're going to get them a lot more of them at a more affordable price. And what I do is I do a 2-brush method. What that means is one brush is going to be what I apply with, and the next brush is going to be what I buff out with. And my ring's fine. And so I'm going to show you that. All right, let's take a look. Do that one. Okay. Okay. So I've dunked my brush in just some water, dampened it up. You don't it doesn't have to be super soggy. What you're doing is you're just going to load up your brush. What you're doing is you're mixing that in, activating the makeup and getting to the creamy consistency that you want. Let me see here. Yeah, that's good. All right. Loading it up. Here's the thing. More brands that are specifically for body paint, they're more highly pigmented, so you're going to get less streaking and less splotching. But it's always good to have your second brush to buff anything out just in case. And we're going to just take this one section at a time. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, torture me. All right.
Oh, it's not that bad.
It's not
you
that
played it up way more than I thought it would.
Next time I'll put ice cubes in the...
Oh, yeah.
No, it's lukewarm, and then you glug, 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 glug.
Yeah.
So, applying it with the kabuki brush, it's gonna go by really quick. So, what's also great about applying it with the brush, as opposed to a sponge, is, a sponge is just going to absorb all the pigment and the water. And when you apply it, that's also how you get streaks and splotchiness, is applying it with like a cosmetic sponge. It just kind of soaks up all that pigment. Oh, look at that.
This is going so much faster than whenever I did it.
That's what I love, is like when people have never used a kabuki brush before and they've used like a cosmetic sponge, and then they go, oh my gosh, you should be able to body paint an entire body head to toe in probably under 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's way faster.
And
that was
you-
like 10 to 15 minutes each arm.
So, but you see, you can load up a lot of pigment in one go around. What's really cool is one of these cups should get you at least 2 full bodies. If you are going through an entire cup of Mayron Paradise or Fusion or any kind of thing in one sitting, it's because you're using too much water. And what's going on is you're absorbing it into the sponge. Not a lot of that pigment's coming out, and you're just going, oh my God, I need to go and soak the sponge back into the cup. Okay. Turn your arms for me, sir. There we go. Going pretty fast, huh?
Yeah, no.
The panel was over in 15 minutes. Okay, well, thanks for joining us on my TED Talk. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to show you the other reason I have this brush, my buff brush. Is this your cult leader stance?
Yes. I have been chosen. Those lights are real.
I was gonna make a Star Trek joke, but I was like, I don't know anybody was gonna. There's an episode where he's like, there are 4 lights.
I was just gonna say, you're looking at them like ticklish or something.
Oh yeah, people are ticklish. They're like, ah. Okay, so guys, right here in the chest, I've gone this side dried before I put this side. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to make it a little bit sheer when you buff it out, but you can go back over it. But to get rid of those streaks, you just buff it out. You can have, where's my paint towel? It's in the car. So it's always good to have a small, like shop rag, paint rag, towel next to you, so you can keep your buff brush dry, and that'll help with the buffing. So right here, when we get closer to the waist, I'm going to show you. If you wanted to go and buff this out and blend it into flesh, I'm going to keep going down further a little bit more. I'm not just going to like transition into flesh right above the belly button. It's like, it's the weirdest transformation ever.
It's the oddest superpower.
Yeah, you can transform from anything from the belly button up. It's pretty cool. All right, so right here, right? I'm going to take my buff brush. And what I feel like Bob Ross.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little titanium white. I'm just going to buff it down. Just going to take a little. But yeah, you're literally Bob Rossing it. You're buffing that pigment down on your canvas. And that's going to transition it into flesh tone. Same thing applies if you're doing a gradient of colors, and I'm going to do that on the back so you guys can see that. I'm just going to add a little happy tree right here. Excellent. A little cloud. All right. Looking like the Incredible Hulk.
There you go.
But slimmer.
Yeah. Thanks the comment I get on my Beast Boy is that it's a tiny Hulk. I'm like, thanks, man.
That was the tiniest Hulk ever.
It's like, it's great.
Hey, like pin particles.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get you in the back real quick. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to mix two colors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a dark green here. A forest green probably. No, it's frog green. Frog green. I love every company has their own names. That one's that's emerald green. You sure it looks like a just green? No, it's emerald. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me load up that brush a little more creamy consistency. Okay. It's a tiny little Hulk.
I will say you're getting that itch real good back there.
Yeah.
It's all good.
All right. So.
Where was this in college?
That's because they were teaching with Meron and Ben Nye. Meron and Ben Nye, well, they're prudes. All right. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I've applied this darker base, and then I'm going back over with my lighter base, and just kind of overlapping. I'm going to overlap just down here as well. Bop, 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 bop. Cosplay body paint, dang right. Okay. So then I'm going to take my buff brush here, and I'm just going to go over it, and that's what's going to help you gradiate that color if you got two colors. So if you were going blue to pink, purple to pink, you just kind of overlap the colors a little bit. You got to make sure that this brush is dry, because if you continue going over it and it gets damp, it's just going to reactivate the makeup. So that's why you want to keep it dry. I'm going to actually use my shirt and not my shorts. I forgot to get out of these shorts and into paint shorts. And this shirt's pretty much on its last leg. It's become a paint shirt. Okay, so there we go. We're going to go and buff it. and then keep going down. There we go. And that's how you mix two colors. I'm going to go in the middle here. It's was a little streaky. There we go. So if you want to get rid of those streaks, you want to use a two-brush method. You don't want to use a sponge. Keep this brush dry. Oh, that's what this was for. Come on. Come on. I have a bag of kabuki brushes just in case one of them gets too wet. I can just grab a new one. We're just going to play with one here. So yeah, you keep going over that. And that's going to look a lot better than the usual streakiness of a sponge. We're going to go in circular motions here. Yeah. All right, let me get the back of your arms real quick. Huh. I think next year the panel is going to be called "Your Face is Melting, Now What?" Hosted by Emperor Eyebrow. My OC cosplay.
Tina.
The Gordon Ramsay of makeup. I couldn't help but notice that your face is streaky.
Mr. Rogers not anymore.
Go back and do it again. All right, guys, so we're going to finish this up. Let me actually get this giant spot of flesh painted so you're not just walking around like, oh, what an artistic choice to just leave that bare. Okay. Okay. Sir, if you wouldn't mind turning back around. That went by a lot faster, huh?
Went by a hell of a lot faster.
Here's the thing about these pigments, guys. They're all water-based, so they will come out of clothing for the most part. I usually tend to tell people if you're wearing a white cosplay, the fabric is white, like, that's probably not going to come out. Any other color, you can probably work it out. But if you're wearing a pristine fabric and it's all color white, and your character is the color green, red, blue, well, that's that. You can seal it, and that does help, but not all sealers are going to, friction against skin and fabric, it will rub off no matter what. Let me just fix this, my goodness. Let me show you guys real quick. When sealing makeup, this is the makeup that I recommend. It's called Green Marble, and it's an alcohol-based sealer. This is probably the best sealer that I can recommend for makeup. This is the stuff that I use if I ever do like any shoots by the pool or underwater. When you combine it with an alcohol-based makeup, you're set to go for the entire day. When it's a water-based makeup, you go over with this. It improves the longevity of the makeup for, a good portion of the con. So are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Dope.
Doing fine.
Awesome. All right, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on. Usually, this is so new to me. Usually I'm like, does anybody have any questions in the audience? And, oh, yes, do tell. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to airbrushing. Let's take a look. You look good. You look good. So the next thing is, so I've covered base coating and water-based makeup. Next, I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit about airbrush makeup. And what I use a combination of water-based makeups and alcohol-based because we are in the South and probably the same temperature as the surface of the sun. Yeah.
If not more.
If not more. The sun is like, oh my God, it's so cool there. That's where I vacation. So it is, I use alcohol-based makeups when I do faces a lot of times because of the sweat factor and the humidity, especially in Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia. So I want to make sure that the makeup lasts a long time. And there are a ton of alcohol-based makeups. Not all alcohol-based makeups are for airbrush. You will find ones that are alcohol activated, and they come in pallets or little pots, just like the Mayron or Fusion or Tag or anything like that. And they're a little more expensive, but in the long run, if you're doing a convention up north in the middle of winter, you probably don't need it. If you're doing it in the south, yeah, you probably need alcohol-based makeups, so you don't, sweat it all off. All right. Any questions from anybody online? Can they ask questions on Weeb TV? Oh, okay. I just didn't know. I was like, any questions? I'm going to start carrying around pieces of paper going, we actually got this question in from Bob from Michigan watching Weeb TV today. Bob asks, what kind of airbrush guns you use? I'm like, Bob, that's a great question. Bob, I use a variety of airbrush guns. Let me tell you, there is no such thing as a makeup airbrush gun. If someone say, hey, this is specifically for makeup, they're trying to sell you junk. I'm here to save you guys money because we're all artists and we're all poor. And then I pull out moths out of my pockets. So what I use, guys, the airbrush guns that I use, there's a brand called Iwata and a brand called Pache. There are millions of brands when it comes to airbrush guns. I own a little bit of everything. For making it a lot easier and streamlining it for everybody, I usually stick to just mentioning these two because they're going to be the most widely accessible guns in every state, major city. You can go to mom and pop's art supply store or major art supply store, Hobby Lobby, or Michael's, and they're going to carry Iwata. Do I recommend those places? Probably not. They jack up the prices of the equipment. So go to your mom and pop's airbrush supply store. Oh, and the other one, there is a third one that I do, hiccups, that I do recommend. It's called Masters. And Masters airbrush guns you can find on Amazon. They are going to be a lot more affordable if you're just wanting to get your feet wet when it comes to airbrushing, but you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. Because, it's 2021, money's just raining out of the sky for everyone.
So what do you prefer, gravity fed or siphon?
Ooh, great question. Bob didn't even... Did Bob ask you to? So that's actually a great question. What do I prefer? And I didn't cover that. Let me cover that right quick. Also, clean your guns or they gum up. I use my guns so often that I sometimes forget to clean them. So we've got two types of guns here. We have a siphon-fed gun, and what that means is your bottle of paint or your cup connect to the bottom right there. And here you go. And it just drops like, and here, you take a look at it. And then the other one is a gravity-fed gun. What that means is the cup is on top of the gun, and you're just putting a little bit of paint in there at a time. I have both because I need both for what I do. Oh man, that's a great question. A majority of cosplayers are usually just dealing in doing their faces. So I usually recommend just sticking with a gravity-fed gun because you're not doing a lot of coverage like the entire body. So you don't need a lot of paint. If you're doing characters constantly or you're doing art, because an airbrush gun, if you clean it, here's the thing. If you invest in it, you can have guns that are specifically for your makeup and specifically for your... Those guys are jealous. You could. It's like, that's right, buddy. You could have been painted too. Or that threw me off. Gawkers. So if you're doing, but like not every. When I first started out, I could only afford one or two guns. I didn't have the luxury of having 10 guns, 30 guns, 40 guns.
I think I started out with the one in your right hand, actually.
And this one's, both of them are great. I call them heirloom guns. These are the type of guns you can pass your children's children. if you're doing a lot of stuff, you're doing props, costumes, and makeup, and you're going to be cleaning the gun out properly, so you know you can't do all that, I would go with the siphon fed. And the reason being is this cup comes off, and you can pop different size bottles holding different amount of paints. And that, so this is a 1 ounce bottle. Pop it on, and that way you, if you're doing a lot, you can. We'll say he's wearing a costume right now, a blank Zentai suit, and I'm painting it directly, and he's a mannequin, and I just need to go through a bunch of colors. I can pop off like a cartridge, put another color on, and just keep going. And that's for large coverage and doing a lot of colors. If you're doing your face, I recommend just a gravity fed. It's the same thing when people ask, well, what do you use like when you're doing little model kits? It just depends on what you're going to be doing. Are you going to be doing a lot of Are you going to be doing a lot of stuff, or are you going to be doing just little tiny spurts of color? Guys, we have a technical issue. I'm going to teach you a very valuable lesson. If you're using your gun, don't just leave it there with paint, or it's going to gum up and get stuck. There we go. I did it for you guys. You're welcome. Yeah. Oof. Me. Oh, there we go. So that's it. Guys, if you get like, if you're constantly using your gun and you're not cleaning it, it's going to gum up like that. Again, I did it for you guys. Ugh. Thank God I planned ahead and just left my gun full of paint. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys highlighting and shading. So we got our base coat. You can do highlighting and shading with brush and sponge. If you were doing highlighting and shading, my favorite way of doing it is with loose powders and eyeshadows. That gives you that really nice, subtle look. Okay, so airbrush basics. Safety, you don't want a high PSI when you're working with someone's body or face. You want to keep it around 15 to 20, so that way there's never a risk of going underneath the eyelids, or, you know, blowing it up their nose. All right, you guys. Okay, let's get my bag of green, my bag of Holden. Let's go with that olive. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some light shading. What I do when it comes to makeup, body paint, you're wanting to build up those colors. So we're just going to do it in layers. Just like painting a Bob Ross painting. Yeah. You doing okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm doing fine. It's always such a distinct smell, too.
Hotel alarms are going off, someone's painting. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the natural curves of his body. Sounded so.
Yeah.
Once I've kind of done the rough shading, then I start going in with harder lines. Okay. Doing that olive green. The other thing is the base coat. The base coat, you notice that green is probably on camera or even in real life. It's really bright. I like going with the lightest shade possible. So that way I'm able to build up the colors that I need to. That's something that I notice a lot of beginners and even experienced body paint, or not body painters, cosplayers do, is they'll start off with the color that is like the final color. So they'll be like, cool, that character, the Hulk is green. I'm gonna go with the darkest green possible. And then you're like, cool, but you can't build up on that with highlights and subtle shading. So you want to start with a light to medium color, so that way you're able to build up. So right now I'm applying an olive green. Look at that, muscles. Yeah. All right, tense up for me real quick.
There we go.
That's what I should do. Set up on a beach every summer and
What
just.
do you do? Body painting. No gym required.
Yeah, you want some muscles, sir? Step right up. That'll be $1,000. Oh, you want the sealer too? Well, that's gonna be extra. So what you're noticing is I'm going pretty thick with those shading lines. They don't have to be super like. They don't have to be minute lines. This is just getting the idea of the muscles. Oh, I need more paint. It's in my pocket. It's not a mustache. I don't just carry it around. All right. So what are you guys excited about for WeebCon?
Oh, I'm excited about the cosplay contest.
Tell me why.
Because I'm going to be judging.
What is your
That's all the news I
favorite?
need.
What is your favorite part of judging cosplayers?
Honestly,
That was such a general statement.
No, it's a good question though. I just loved how excited people get about their builds. Like, some of them have been working on it for a long time. Some of them do it in a real short time, but each kind of has its own struggle, right? So it's interesting.
As a cosplay judge,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've come across a lot of cosplays, and some of them are bound to have makeup and body paint.
Yep.
When you're judging someone
Mm-hmm.
in a cosplay competition, what is something that you're basing that judgment on when it comes to their makeup in the overall look of the can a bad makeup application bring down the overall look of a cosplay?
Of course, yeah. I mean, any bad application of anything, right? And any kind of, whether it's body paint or prop making or anything like that, yeah, it can be bad. What I try to do is that if we have somebody that's on the judging panel that body painting's their thing, we'll try to refer to them as much as possible as far as like advanced techniques from beginner techniques and stuff like that.
That's why I'm not allowed to judge.
Yeah.
What is this? Go back. No.
Redo this. No. But yeah, or at least me personally, I try to look for the consistency between the character and what they're trying to portray.
Gotcha.
Essentially. So, and the complexity of it, I would say, with the contouring and stuff like that.
What is something that you see that a mistake that you see cosplayers do when it comes to characters that require a different skin tone, a fantasy skin tone, green, yellow, blue, when they try to apply it, you see something that you're like, ooh, that.
Most of the time, I see it. They don't apply it far enough up to where if they have any form of movement, say they extend their arm, right?
You
can
see
the
the
natural skin. That's the most common mistake that I see.
It breaks the illusion.
It does, yeah. It kind of takes you out of it. Other than that, it would be. Yeah.
When they do one color, and that is something.
That's a good one.
People, I think what happens is, I didn't know that guy, but I thought I knew that guy. I was about to totally be like, "Hey, man," and I'm so happy I didn't. One of the things that is a good point is people look at a character and they go, "That character's blue, so all I'm going to do is blue." And I think what happens is sometimes people get intimidated by the fact that they may not have the experience in doing contouring or highlighting. And all it is practice. And I tell people not to get, what is the word in English? Frustrated. There is a word in Spanish that I'm like, man, if you guys spoke Spanish, I could tell you right now, That is the word, not to be. And it, like disappointed or flustered if something doesn't come out right. It's a lot of practice. I did not. If you look me up on any of my social media and you go down far enough, there'll be examples throughout. Like every year I post this is what it looked like when I first started and now. And those first few body paints that I did were atrocious. They were messy and they looked horrid. Yeah, I did not know what I was doing, but it just like anything else, whether it be, you're sewing or building with building foam props, it is a lot of practice, guys. So don't get frustrated that it didn't come out looking the way you wanted to the first time. It'll happen. It's just you just gotta keep practicing, practicing with it, and over time, your technique is going to improve. I know that every year I do something new. Like recently, I did a body paint for a corporate gig, and I tried. They were telling, it was different because they wanted an art show. So I painted the model live, and I had 5 hours to paint them. And they go, just take your time, do whatever you want. And in that time, I took the time to just practice different techniques, and I was able to, just by mistake, figure out a technique that I had seen other artists do, and never taken the time to actually practice or show myself how to try to do it. And once I figured it out, I was very happy. And it was practicing more with sponge and brush. I'm predominantly an airbrush artist. When it comes to body paint or special effects, I can do sponge and brush, but I wouldn't say that is my my strongest skill. If I'm paid, I will make it my strongest skill.
Yeah.
But when I'm just practicing, I'd rather do airbrush. But it's just a lot of practice, and I was very happy because I finally got to play around with a new technique that is going to improve how I paint cosplayers and clients for Halloween. So yeah, in case for some reason I'm at a location doing a photo shoot or doing a body paint, doing a demo, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, there's no electricity here, you're gonna have to do it all by hand. I'll be like, oh, I got it. I totally got it. I'm confident, and now I have it. Okay.
I think the first thing I realized whenever I painted my face for the first time is how much you lose of your facial features, and it just all kind of blends in at that point in time.
Especially
that
if
was the biggest thing. I was like, I made a mistake.
Because
and contouring videos were then pulled up.
yeah, because if you just do a solid form,
Yep.
it just doesn't look, because our skin is so pixelated and pigmented. It's not just one solid, like it's flesh tone.
Right.
It's just look at your skin. It's a bunch of little bits of pigment and little speckles, which that brings up a good point. I'm going to show you guys how to pixelate to give a little bit more realistic look. Like I'm doing it right now, molting, kind of going over the entire thing with my airbrush gun, but I'm going to show you a different way of doing it. So let's say that you guys are doing a cosplay competition. Ugh. Okay, let me get my brush here. The greatest tool ever, a toothbrush. So this is actually one of my favorite tools. It's an old school technique. I have a feeling I'm going to be buying new shorts by the end of the weekend. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to get a different color out. Yeah, just a little bit.
Dramatic effect.
Yeah. It was for the ASMR viewers. I was like, I do want to do an ASMR body paint video. Because like if you listen closely, when you take a brush over someone's skin, it has that brush of like a canvas.
I don't know if that would be creepy or if that would be.
Look, I'm looking at
Interesting.
it's called making money,
Yeah.
monetizing it.
There's a market out there, you just gotta find it.
That's true.
There's a market for anything.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is just the same way as I'm just going to activate. I'm going to use a little bit of brown just to give it a bit of pop. And what I'm going to do, so if you're doing face makeup or you're doing body makeup, especially if you're, one of the things I learned when it came to competing in body paint, a friend of mine, he is like #1 in the world. He wins the gold every year at the Body Paint Festival. He said when you're being judged, you want to make sure that you wow them from far and from close up. So if you're doing a cosplay contest and you're wowing them from super far away, awesome. But also you want to wow them when they're like 3 feet away from you and be like, oh wow, the craftsmanship on this, the makeup is amazing. So if you want to pixelate the makeup, take a toothbrush and you just start flicking. What that does is that starts breaking up just the large chunks of just one solid color. And you're adding pixelation to give it a little bit more realism. Make that fantasy come to life. So then I'm going to grab the green. The brown was just... So there's something there. We're going to go with a little bit darker green now. There we go. And what you can do is you can just keep adding that. If you wanted to do an entire body paint and do this. So if you were doing this all sponge and brush, what I would recommend is you do that water base, that base of water activated makeup first, that light green, and then you start going over with your pixelation of a bunch of different types of greens. And then you can go in and you'd brush in some of that shading. So. Everyone tenses up when I like.
Yeah, I was
when,
like,
when I. All right. Of makeup?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, ladies. No, I have none. So it took me 10 years for what I do. I do it professionally. So from the moment that I started, I had a makeup kit from makeup school. So it was my brushes and my makeup, and that was it. And as I went on, I started adding little bit more makeup. And makeup runs out, so it's not like your collection really grows quick. It'll grow, and then you'll use it, and you're like, and it'll plateau. And then you start adding more stuff. Like airbrush guns. Airbrush guns, they're expensive, guys. So what I tell people, if you want to get into airbrush guns, go on Amazon, get that Masters brand. But the other thing I do is airbrush guns get bought every Christmas for people, for artists, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles buy them airbrush guns, and people don't care. And they'll just put them in a closet. So go on Facebook and say, does anyone have an airbrush gun that they're not using? And you will find at least 3 friends that are like, I have this thing called a Pache. Do you want it? Grab it. Yeah. That's how I started building my collection of Paches. Paches, because of their price point and they're affordable, people give them out as gifts during Christmas. Get them. Take them. They're great guns. Someone doesn't want it, take it. Go on Craigslist, go on Facebook Marketplace, and look up airbrush guns. You'll find someone. I've got at least 5 guns that I've bought on Craigslist. I was able to haggle it down to $35.
Yeah, you can find some good deals.
One guy, he sold me an airbrush gun and compressor for $100, and I felt really weird about it. And I was like, hey man, like, I don't think I could do that. And he goes, no, take it. I want to buy a video game. And I was like, okay, cool. You know what you're doing.
Except for both.
So yeah, but makeup, that's the other thing I tell people. Makeup is affordable. Don't just get stuck in one brand. For instance, like you're saying, growing a collection. I have a art supply store that I consult for, and they were opening. They have this face paint makeup, body paint makeup that they sell, and it's a cheaper brand. It's a kind of like a generic no-name brand, but they sell it there because parents will come in and they get it. And for years I was like, that stuff isn't professional. I will never buy it. And I had my nose up. And they opened one of the boxes incorrect, and one of the bottles got cut into, so the whole case got makeup all over it. So they go, "Do you want the entire case? Take it." And I just told myself, "Yeah, I'll take it. Maybe I'll give it to somebody, or I'll use it for something." And one day I was experimenting with it, and I learned to thin it down with distilled water to get it through my gun. And now it's one of the best makeups that I use for base coating, and it saves me. A bottle this big is, I think, $15, and when you water it down, that equals out to like 6 of those bottles. So, one of these bottles, it's in my pocket, I don't want to get paint. One of these little 2-ounce bottles here, that's $20. So anywhere you can save money on makeup, it's trying different brands. There's always new brands that come out that are going to be able to be, you're going to find out are more affordable and better. So don't always, just go, "Oh, well, that's a cheap brand, that's not going to work." Because you never know. It might actually really come in handy and change the game. But yeah, growing a collection when it comes to makeup takes time. And for the first few years, I was, had a very small collection. I've been blessed enough that, now because people know that I do makeup, I have friends that will buy something for a project and be like, "Hey, I got this makeup. It didn't work for me. Do you want it?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure do." Lots of Jeffree Star, because that man made a lot of mistakes. People, "I don't want to use Jeffree Star anymore. Rudy, do you want it?" I'm like, "Sure do. Sure do." Okay, so guys, right now, he's pixelated. And right now it just looks like little tiny speckles of paint. And it won't look, if you were doing it a little bit more subtle, you can water down the makeup a lot more and make it a lot more subtle, a lot more transparent. If you're using alcohol-based makeup palettes, that makeup will look a lot more transparent when you're applying it directly or even speckling it. So if you're looking for a transparent look, go for alcohol-based makeup. If you're doing it with water-based, just water it down a lot. For what I'm doing, I want to make sure you guys can see it on camera, so I'm going really, really heavy with it. Right now, he just looks like Moss Man from from He-Man. Oh well, you just wait. You want to be famous, don't you? All right, guys. So let me switch back over. You know what? No, guys, I'm in a speckling mood now. Crap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more. What I'm going to go is I'm going to go in with a flesh tone, and then there's already green in my brush. It's giving me a nice mint color. I don't know why I'm pronouncing all my words with just that ASMR. I want people like, "Oh man, we should subscribe to his YouTube. I hear he's an ASMR teacher." Yes, makeup ASMR. Come get it. Subscribe and like. So right now I'm just going to go in lightly, and that's just breaking up even more with a little more speckle. Yeah. Doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, always, if you're body painting somebody else, always make sure that the model's doing okay. Because let me tell you, standing all the time, it does suck. And it does,
A lot harder than you think.
Yeah, stand in a corner for about 30 minutes and don't move a lot, and you'll be like, "Oh man, this is tiring."
That's the same thing with models for photography.
Yeah.
You don't realize how hard it is to hold one pose for X amount of time
Yeah.
until you do it.
And then you're like, "Oh, this is
You're
terrible."
Like, oh man.
I was a tyrant just having them stand there. Okay. All right. Okay, let me switch back over. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to look for something right quick. Aha. That's what I thought. A handy dandy alcohol swabs. There we go. And for my hands. Guys, if you're gonna do this, wear gloves, because you might get all over your hands. A little messy sometimes.
Don't become the model.
Yeah.
Is that...
Whoa! I'm blending right into him. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a darker color now. It's my darker green. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Mini Hulk.
Hulk.
All right, so... All right, so guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and do the fine details with a darker color. And because this darker color matches some of the pixelation that I did, it's going to blend right into it.
It's a little cold. It's a little cold. It's not too bad though.
Lips turning blue. It's just a little cold. Okay, so guys, see here, I'm going a lot more. There are smaller lines as opposed to that olive green that we shot. That was just really thick coverage. Now I'm kind of going in there, and I'm getting my line work done. I'm going to use it to shade a little bit as well. So when it comes to muscles, you can follow the natural muscles of someone. Not everyone has, the physique where you can actually just follow their muscles and kind of paint by numbers. And that's okay. You can just practice and kind of fill those in, and that is all right. Or, just like 90s comic book artists, just come up with muscles.
Yeah. Muscles on muscles.
Muscles on muscles on muscles. And lots of ammo pouches.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see here. How does that look? Oh, there we go. Yeah. It's really bright light. So guys, in person, it's a little bit darker and not as white, highlighted. So now, what we do is,
Go for it. Strong.
yeah, super strong. He's so strong. Okay, so let's see here. There we go. Look at that comic book physique. How did you do it? Oh, days and days at the gym. All right, so let me switch over to do I have it? Of course not. Well, dang. Do nothing. All right,
See, this is when everybody needs to tune in. When I
At the very end,
Yeah.
wow, you're like, oh, you know, it
I
was
show up like this.
it was nothing. All right. Yes. One of the things, guys, that I do when it comes to muscles, because sometimes I do get stumped. Everyone does have a different frame. I will go on Pinterest and just look up comic book muscles, comic book art muscles. It'll pull up a ton of stuff. And you'll see that different artists draw muscles different ways. And just looking at those muscles different ways, you'll get a better idea. You can kind of look at your model and be like, you know what? I think this, if I drew, sometimes, like I said, not everyone has muscles that I can just kind of follow. So I have to look at their overall frame, and then I'll look at illustrations of comic books and be like, you know what? You have a wider frame like this character. Let's see how they have their muscles laid out. And I'll kind of do that. And it helps out a lot. Pinterest comes in handy for a lot of stuff. Yeah, let me get out of the way here. Down in front. All right, let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start molting the color a little bit. What that means is I'm just kind of doing speckles of green all over, and that's just to kind of darken it up, because we do have a lot of areas that are pretty bright still. There we go. Dang, check you out. What you doing? Oh, modeling some Kenneth Cole underwear.
They need to reach out to me now.
Yeah, okay. We're coming out with a superhero-based underwear line. We'd like you to be our spokesperson. Yes, I like money.
Mini Hulk approved. That's not going away anytime soon.
No, mini Hulk approved. Yes. Okay, guys. So right now, look at that. We'll post some pictures up on Instagram, on social media, and you guys will see what it looks like up close. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, I like it. I'm going to go in a darker color now. We're going to go in with a brown. Cafe, as they say. So my friend was judging a drag competition years ago. And everyone was coming out with these amazing dresses and beautiful colors, and the MC was like, oh, and we have, you know, so-and-so wearing a beautiful mango, or oh my goodness, look at the color of her dress, avocado. And they had one contestant come out, came out in just a brown dress, and the MC just goes, and here she is in brown. Nothing fancy, just brown. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a little brown here, as a matter of fact, and I'm just going to darken some of these lines up with that. Okay, there we go. What I tend to not do, guys, is I don't like using a lot of the color black, because that is a pretty harsh color, and it has the tendency of muddying up other colors that when you're trying to shade. And so what I do is I usually shade with the darkest version of whatever color I'm using, and if that doesn't work, I go in with a little bit of brown.
It's crazy, every time I look at the monitor, it looks like a Zentai bodysuit from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. To see you go from, nothing to now.
Well, the one color, like a lot of people do, will just like the base green.
Yeah.
And we start adding more layers and more layers.
So one of the things that I do, guys, is I step back from the model, because when you're staring at somebody the entire time, it just kind of blends together. So you want to step back every now and then. Say what now?
Get a little colorblind.
Yeah, you're just like, it's green,
Yeah.
it's brown. So you want to step back. Now I know where I'm going to focus. So I'm going to come in here. Beast Boy in the comic books and stuff. Do they? Does he have yellow highlights or white highlights? You know, how sometimes depending
Most of
on.
my knowledge of Beast Boy is just from that animated series, so it's hard.
So no, it's cell shaded.
Yeah, it would be just the grid we started
Okay.
with, probably. Yeah.
Because sometimes the Hulk will have green or yellow highlighting on his skin.
I think you can take some liberties with it. I don't
White it
think
is.
anybody's gonna track you down.
Write a letter.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob from
You
Michigan.
might get one angry Twitch comment.
Luckily, I haven't been on Twitch in a while. Twitch away, guys. Okay. There we go. So, guys, it's just like I said. It's layering. It's layering colors. Look at that. Check you out.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. And like I said, guys, the effect can also be done with regular sponge and brush. I would have just been, instead of doing, I would have base coated again in the body paint, and then I would have gone in with my shading would have been done with loose pigments and pressed powders. Oh, that looks fantastic. All right. So, let's see here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in a couple places with a brush, and I'm going to go and do fur texture, so that way it's Beast Boy. All right. So let's get you done up right quick. Sir, you ready to have your face done?
Sure am.
Perfect. I'm going to the makeup store tomorrow to get more green.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. There's one store here that carries the green that I need, so I'm just like, thank goodness I'm in Dallas. All right. Okay. Let's take a look. Yeah. What? All right. Let's see. Close your eyes, sir. Do you do any other characters that are fully body painted?
I haven't. I think Beast Boy is the first one I did.
And that detoured, you're like,
Yeah. No, it's hard to work it into shoots because it's just so time consuming.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. All right, so what I'm going to do, when I get near your face, or your nose, sorry, I'm already near your face. So I'm going to go underneath your nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath, and then exhale slowly.
Okay. So take a deep breath and then exhale slowly?
Yeah. Ready? There we go. And that's going to push up against my air. Perfect. You're good.
Alright.
Okay. There we go. Let's see here. Let's get a little green there. Okay, guys. So, let's see where we're at on time. We're still doing great. Let me. All right. Ready to do your face? So I'm going to contour you out. Contour with the airbrush gun, same as you would regular contour, guys. It's in my pocket. Oh my goodness. I was like, huh.
It's probably not like a utility belt.
All right, a bandolier of colors.
Yes, that would be great. Yes.
That airbrush artist from Texas, he's got a bandolier. All right. Actually, you know what? I'll sit you down. You're a tall man. You are?
I will not go against it.
I'm like, it's not my chair. That's terrible. All right, close your eyes. So when it comes to the face, guys, like I said, I'm going to pop down my PSI to about 15. And I'm just doing very light contouring. Chisel out those cheekbones some more. Okay. There we go. Any more questions from anybody online?
Why is he green?
He is green because we're doing a Beast Boy makeup. He's Swamp Thing.
I think the question is why not?
Why not? It's 2021. I did. I put paint over them.
You
Oh.
know this is going to be an 18 plus movie.
Let me see. All right, so let's go in with a little bit more green here. Okay. Da 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 da. It's still in my pocket.
Put Bell on it.
I'm good at them like green. Tomorrow, anybody's going, can I get the color green? I'm like, no, you can't. As a matter of fact, nope.
Sorry.
Wrong.
Good thing you're not doing tomorrow.
Oh crap! I hope I know one's like, oh my god, can you do a Gamora too? I'm like, someone's gonna be running to the makeup store tomorrow for me.
You know someone's going to say it. I'm telling you right now.
I'm like, oh man, you just missed her. She just went around the corner. What? Yeah. You better go get a picture with her. Okay, guys, let's take a look. Put a little more green. So now I'm going to add the highlights. The highlights are really going to make everything pop. So let's do white. Blanco. This is going to be a bilingual Spanish airbrush class. Bienvenidos al... All right, sir, would you mind standing up again?
Yep.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna hit them with a little bit of highlight here and there, make everything pop. All right. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna start off kind of subtle with the highlights. Don't want to just full blown the color white because you never know. You might go a little too intense and it just won't be as subtle as you want it to be. Oh, yeah, that's looking good. You're like, I can't see anything.
I gotta look the
The monitor.
monitor to see the difference.
Wait till you go to the bathroom. I mean, to go look in the mirror. You know, not just go to the bathroom. It's like, surprise people. Wow, I'm Beast Boy.
He's gonna pop out from the stall. Wow.
There's a strange green man just popping out of stalls. I think he was dressed up as Godzilla. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's making everything pop. So what's going on here, guys, is when you're doing highlighting and shading, is you're giving dimension to all the muscles that you've drawn on. If you just do shading, it's not really gonna pop. And remember, so here's the trick with highlighting and shading. For every shadow, you're gonna have two highlights, one above, one below. Same thing. Here's a highlight. I got a shadow here and here. So for every highlight, two shadows. For every shadow, two highlights. And that's what's going to give you that nice curvature and that illusion. The illusion of muscles, sorry.
Thank you. I will take it.
Excuse me as I go strut around the con now. All right. There we go. So I chose the color white for my highlight. I could have gone with yellow, but it just kind of is the preference of, I guess, what character you're doing. what character or what comic or what timeline you're basing it off of. The reason I was asking is if you look, you can look at the Hulk, and some artists have given him yellow highlights on his muscles, and others have just straight up white highlights. It just depends. And if you're doing something stylized like cell shading from a video game or a cartoon, maybe the way they highlight somebody is going to be a completely different color. If you look at Venom from the 96 series or 95, 93 series of Spider-Man, the animated series, they would highlight him with the color red. So it looked like it was either highlighted with white or the color red. And they did the same thing with the action figures. So it gave it a cool cartoon cell motif. But if you're trying to replicate that, you might want to highlight with the color red. There we go. So what I'm going to do is on the lower part of the arms is where we're going to do fur. So we're not going to worry too much about the highlights right there. But we're just adding a little bit. Oh, you're looking snazzy. Enter that costume contest tomorrow. Give yourself a good. You're like, you know what? I look good. I win.
Yeah.
All right, close your eyes for me. So what I'm going to do, guys, is, so we've got the body paint, right? We're going to go back to our sponge and brush, do some fur. Let's see. Let's get the proper brushes. Okay, so fur, guys, is pretty easy. It doesn't have to be super hard. What you're going to do is you're just going to layer, again, colors. So I'm going to take my brush, just a round brush, medium sized. Let me see your hand right quick. And I'm just going to just doing lines. They don't look that special right now, but as you start layering colors on, you'll get that fur look. I do feel like Bob Ross right now. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to come up here. There we go. What other questions do I have? You see? Nothing new, guys. Come on. This is free knowledge. With every subscription to, I don't know. For $100, you too can be a makeup artist. All right. Right now you look like a watermelon. Let me change. That arm looks like a watermelon.
Also accurate. He asked me what I wanted to be. I said watermelon.
A watermelon.
What happened?
He made me into a watermelon creature. It was amazing. All right. So what we're going to do is let's take a look here. Let me see your face right quick. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to bring in some of this line work right near the hairline and sideburns. Okay. That's it. I need a Bob Ross body paint show. That is what I need.
The amount of people that walk by and stop like mid-step, it gets me.
They're like, what's going on in there?
Just like, oh.
Different convention, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Chin down for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of do this. That's a great question. So I decided to go to college. College was not for me, and I told my dad I didn't want to go to college. So he said I had to get a trade, and he knew that I liked monsters and special effects makeup, so he helped me find a special effects school to get a trade. and he sent me to makeup school, which I thought was super awesome of him and very supportive. And let me tell you, it's just like any other career. Those first few years, you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. But you stick with it and you practice. And but that was makeup and special effects. Body paint, honestly, I didn't want to do body paint. That didn't seem like my path to go. I got out of makeup school thinking I was going to work for movies and special effects and all that. And that didn't end up happening the way I wanted to. But I had a friend of mine, and she knew I did makeup, so she asked me to do a body paint photo shoot for her. And I went to her photographer studio. I painted her. That is the most atrocious body paint I have ever done. I have the pictures stored away somewhere. They weren't real body paints. They were like UV gel body paints, and they were horrible. But I painted her, and then that guy, he liked it, and he started calling me back for more. So then I started body painting through that gentleman. He had a nightclub that they did themed events for the night, like they did a jungle theme once and circus themed. So he'd call me and I'd do that and photo shoots for him, and that's kind of how I got started. And I just started practicing more and more. And when I moved out to Texas, I went back to college, and I just started asking friends if I could body paint them in practice. And, you know, that's kind of how it started. And once I started realizing that I was pretty okay at it, that's kind of where my path shifted over into doing it more full time and less of like, oh, I do special effects and a little body paint. It started becoming its own thing. And then I was on television, and it was the worst experience ever. Reality shows are rigged, guys. Everything you see is fake. Don't trust the news. But yeah, no, I was on reality television, and I can tell you right now, it is all fake. None of it is real. There's no reality to it. They know who they want to win. Like, if you watch the episode where I'm voted off, it's cool and everything, but what they don't show is that they know how to like make it so your body paint looks like crap, and that sucks because my body paint didn't look like crap. What they also didn't show was when they voted me off, you got to do that long, like, I'm walking down the aisle with my little suitcase that, I wanted to go out with Sal, so I knocked a bunch of stuff off of people's tables. Or when I packed up my case, I opened it up, and they go, okay, now pack your case like you're sad. And I went, they didn't show that I flicked the contestants off. Like, they edited it out. And then afterwards, they're like, why couldn't you be like that during the show? And I was like, I'm fine. Not for me, guys. I have integrity. I'll flick you off afterwards. But it's, being on reality television, they just don't tell you. Talent, it's not about talent per se. It's about how much entertainment you can provide, how much drama you can start up. If you fake a nervous breakdown, I'm not saying that someone did, but they did. If you fake a nervous breakdown, they'll keep you on for another episode and see how entertaining you become. It's just that's how it is. So if you know how to play their game, then you'll stay on for a while. In case you guys are ever on reality television. So what I'm doing, guys, is now I'm going in with that original color, and I'm just adding highlights to the fur, so it just doesn't look like a bunch of lines of one color. You can come in. It'll look like lines of different colors. All right, let's take a look. Chin down for me. So here's, again, the point of it is layers, guys. You want to do as many layers as possible. Doing mixed media. So if you're using powders, you're using airbrush, you're using water-based makeups. It all combined together just adds an extra element of people staring in the room.
So they're cosplay guests, just like what did I get myself into?
Winning the cosplay contest tomorrow, that's what I got myself into. How about that?
Housekeeping is not gonna like.
You know, it's like, here's the thing about housekeeping. You roll everything up into a bundle and you put it up to the front door and they don't care. And right now we're in a pandemic, so they really don't care about, like, they can be like, oh, I better just put it in the basket and not say anything. You're like, they were already dead. They were already dead. Okay, guys, let's see what we are missing here. And I believe it is the color white. And well, interesting. So we're going to use a flesh tone. Regular rich ivory. Okay. There we go. Let's take a look at you. Kim, you getting body painted next?
I don't think we got time for body painting. You can shave my head.
You want to be Nebula tomorrow?
Oh, no, we got something lined up.
No, you want to be Nebula. Nah. Okay. All right, so we've added the layers. We did the base coat and water-based makeup. We went with the airbrush. Like I said, you don't have to use airbrush. You can do all the highlighting and shading with powders. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit to his nose. So that way we give him a little bit more of a Beast Boy look. And we're going to do that with pigments. Of what character? Oh, do it. We got time tomorrow. Tomorrow's a whole new day. No, that's what body paint's for. We'll smooth it all out with body paint. There's my Nebula right there walking away. I should have gotten on the you and the heels with the face and the hologram and everything. All right, guys, here we go. There's the palette that I'm looking for. Regular Cosmetic Eyeshadow Revolution from Ulta. I wish Ulta would like send me money when I'm like, I get Revolution from Ulta.
Because you already. Yeah.
All right, let's take a look here. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of powder, and I'm going to kind of just give a little bit of a little cute animal nose, just to give it that like, oh, Beast Boy, yeah, Beast Boy would have a little wolf nose, wouldn't he? You know how the cartoon is. He's got that little nose. Yeah. All right, let's go with. I'm going to darken it up, guys. So I'm going to go with a little bit of our favorite color of brown. Okay. So, take just a little bit of brown. I'm just going to go right underneath the nose, just to add a shadow here. You don't have to completely cover the nose in brown. Just a little shadow there. Give it that little animal look. Yeah, look at you, bruh. Close your eyes for me. These crease lines that you're seeing, or if you can't see it, I don't know if you guys can zoom in on the screen. Those easily taken care of. You know, sometimes body paint creases, especially in the eyelids. You just go in with powder, and powder will fix it right up. Okay, guys, we are coming to a close. I'm just going to finish off around the eyes. Look up for me. Eyes open. There we go. I'm going to come under here Do a little bit of powder to get that. Let's take a look. You doing all right? There we go. I'm gonna take a little eyeshadow. I'm gonna come in here, darken that up. There might be spots where I want to shade a little bit. Like I said, you can take loose pigment powders and eyeshadows and add the shading with a brush. Awesome. Look at that Beast Boy. Heck yeah. Guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight on Weed TV for Basics of Cosplay Body Paint. Like I said, I'm Rick Campos, Varsity Creations. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, or maybe something we didn't cover when it comes to body paint special effects, feel free to contact me, RC Creations on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I will answer your questions. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and see you in the con.